Have you ever shot awake in the middle of the night in a cold sweat, wondering what it looks like to shoot Kentmere 400 pushed one stop with a red filter? If the answer is yes, well then friend, I have some excellent news for you. Last October, I had a dream. To take the train from Washington to Baltimore, to spend the afternoon drinking coffee and shooting film with my friend Evan. But that dream was swiftly crushed when I missed the MARC train by 2 minutes. Resisting the urge to jump on the metro tracks in a fit of absolute desperation, I discovered that the next train was only an hour away. Surrounded by the beautiful scenery of downtown Washington, D.C., amidst some great weather, I decided to make the most of my free hour by using the equipment that I had at my disposal. That being the Mamiya 645, a roll of Kentmere Pan 400, and a red filter. Why use a red filter, or any filter for that matter, for photography, you might be asking? Well, the short answer is contrast. The slightly longer answer is controlling contrast for black and white photography. And the much longer answer is everything that follows. But let me take this red filter off so we can talk a little bit more full spectrum. There we go, that's better. Back before Lightroom gave you the ability to adjust the relative brightness of different colors with a simple slider, photographers had to bake in the relative brightness of different colors in camera while shooting their black and white film. This was accomplished by using color filters. Very basically, color filters only allow certain wavelengths of light to pass through them. You might say they filter out certain wavelengths of light, like a filter. We can take advantage of these filters along with their relatively flat sensitivity of panchromatic black and white film to drastically change the outlook of our images based on the color filter that we use. Say for instance you want the sky to look dramatically darker. Well, since the sky is blue last I checked, maybe we can try using a red filter. A red filter will cut out all blue and green light, letting only the red pass. This is the effect I was going for back in October. But if you didn't want the effect to be quite as extreme, you might choose to use something like a yellow or orange filter, which lets red and green light pass through, so it only affects the very bluest areas of the sky, and not the more cyan edges. Beyond the stylistic choice that you have to make when choosing which color filter to use, the only technical aspect you have to consider is how it changes your exposure. Because filters reduce the total amount of light entering your camera, your exposure settings will necessarily have to change. The only question is, by how much? Luckily, you don't have to guess, because every manufacturer has figured out exactly how much light their filter cuts out, and will include it in the specifications in the form of something called a filter factor. For example, this red 25A filter has a filter factor of 8, and my 8 yellow number 2 filter has a filter factor of 2, meaning that the amount of light let through the filter is 1/8 and 1/2 respectively. You'll have to look it up yourself though, because it's one of 3 critical pieces of information that's not listed on the lens. Thanks, Tiffin. Very convenient. This is great information to have, but considering that photographers work pretty much exclusively in stops, you'll probably want the filter factor in terms of stops rather than a fraction. Luckily, there's plenty of tables out there that do the conversion for you. So back in October, I was using Kentmere 400 and the red 25 filter with a filter factor of 8. That's 3 stops of adjustment. If I was using a camera with a TTL meter, I wouldn't have had to change anything to get a proper exposure because the camera was reading the light coming through the filter. But because my Mamiya 645 doesn't have a built-in meter and I was relying on my handheld meter, I had to adjust my metering settings a little bit. The easiest way to do this is just by reducing your ISO the correct number of stops. In this case, taking me from 400 ISO down to 50. But because double-digit ISOs make me deeply uncomfortable, I just decided to push the whole roll 1 stop, so my working ISO was 100. When selecting the filter that's right for you, it's helpful to think about which colors you want to darken or brighten. If you want to darken specific colors, make sure you select a filter that's a complementary color, because that filter will filter out your target color, making it darker. But other times, you might want to make a certain color pop. In that case, just match your filter color to your target color. All the other colors will get darker, and you'll have to raise the exposure using the filter factor, so your target color will end up brighter. Alright, now that we've finished our very basic lesson on color filtration for black and white photography, let's see how it actually looks in practice. This first frame I'm going to take without the red filter and then with the red filter so you can see what it does. But the rest of the roll will have a red filter on it. I think this composition will demonstrate nicely what the red filter does to the different colors. Obviously you've got the white capital and the white flowers, but you also have some green scenery, a blue sky, and some red flowers. And the camera today is the Mamiya 645. with the 80mm lens and the power winder, because I'm planning on going to a camera meetup hosted by my friend Jake. If I'm gonna be around other camera nerds, I wanna bring my beefiest setup. This is the Russell Senate office building. There it is, all the way over there. Equal justice under law, unless you're the president, apparently. Oh. It only just now occurs to me that I've been shooting a lot of white buildings, so you can't really see what the red filter's doing. Let's see if we can find something a little bit more colorful. Just a few shots left. My train's in 30 minutes. Aw, Ferk, we're almost out of time. So these are the guys that make me cite everything. I'm sure the question on everybody's mind as we're nearing the end of the video is, will I be doing this again? And my initial thought was no, because I was pretty disappointed with the lack of a dramatic sky in some of the photos. Specifically this one and this one. But then after reviewing the footage I took, I think I figured out what happened. The photos with disappointing skies were taken with the camera pointed towards the direction of the sun, where the sky is a much lighter blue, negating a lot of the effects of the red filter. When I was pointed away from the sun, where the sky is a much deeper shade of blue, the red filter gave me the much more dramatic look that I was after. So even though this experiment didn't lead to anything particularly noteworthy, I will have a better idea of what I'm doing next time around. Oh, and I'll also remember to keep the safety on the power winder. Thanks for watching, be sure to like and subscribe, and let me know down in the comments if you've ever used a red filter to enhance your black and white photography. And I'll see you next time.